Hello and welcome to another video. Your mind is the enemy. Regularly I have different meetings with writers, whether it's they just reach out to me and they want to speak, or they want to discuss a project they're working on, or they're in my writers group, or different things. And over the last couple of days I spoke to a few different writers who were talking about their struggle with procrastination and this battle with their own mind and this criticism that they were feeling towards the work that they were doing. And these writers were saying very similar things about the second they sit down, the second they write a page, they feel all of this criticism come up. They want to edit their work, they judge their work, they feel like they're their own worst critic, all these sorts of things. And what that ultimately is something that goes way deeper than just you want to write a screenplay. Ultimately what's happening is when you come to write a first draft of a long form story for the first time, especially for the first time, you have a sense of excellent work, right? You know what great work looks like, and that's why you want to write. There's great stories you have read, great films you've watched, and you want your work to be like that. You want your finished story to be like that. And so you start writing, and immediately your mind starts attacking you. This criticizer inside of you, that train of thought that you identify as yourself, that is not actually you. The fact of the matter is, you are not your thoughts. You are not the constant stream of thoughts in your head. When you identify with that constant stream of thoughts in your head, that's how you get anxiety, that's how you get fear, that's how you get stuck in habit loops that are not good for you. You are the awareness behind your thoughts, behind the words, behind all of that, right? Your thoughts are usually, most of your thoughts are just your language system gone crazy, right? Because we speak through words, and therefore we think through words. And so we have this, and we listen to podcasts, and we listen to people talk, and we listen to, sports entertainment commentators and all this garbage. And when we do that, it gets our mind used to this constant stream of words in your head. And then you start identifying with this constant stream of words in your head, assuming that those thoughts and ideas are you, but they are not. They are your fears. They are your anxieties. They are your thinking mind trying to reason all of the world and what your path is supposed to be only from your tiny perspective. And part of the reason that writing a first draft of a long form story like a screenplay ends up actually being, in a real way, a spiritual experience is because it is the first time for a lot of people that they have actually faced that stream of consciousness thought pattern in their mind that is just a manifestation of their anxiety, a manifestation of their fears, and now they have to fight that head on. Because you can't be creative like a child is creative if you are constantly analyzing, if you are constantly judging, if you are constantly going back to fix, going back to punish yourself for trying, going back to punishing yourself for being creative. Children don't have Children don't have that same kind of conditioned mind. And because of that, they're able to be more creative without judging themselves, right? Children are just full of joy and full of creativity because of their lack of conditioning, because of their lack of being controlled by constant signals creating this stream of consciousness thought pattern in their mind. They haven't built that language system yet that is both a help because it allows us to communicate with one another, and also a hindrance because it allows us to criticize and judge and try to control everything around us from our limited human perspective, rather than understanding that we are connected to everything, and that we are okay, and that we are loved, and that God is real, though many try to claim the opposite. But part of the reason that I would believe, or I do believe, that atheists have so many fears and anxieties and struggles is because they do not believe that someone else is taking care of them. They do not believe that someone else loves them. They believe they are alone, and they must do everything on their own to survive. And that if they don't plan everything out, that there's nothing else holding them here. There's no loving awareness. There's none of that energy of God that sustains the world that they don't believe that is there, and then they are filled with fear. And they attach themselves to that thinking mind and say, if I can reason with my mind, my reality and everything can fit inside the box of my mind, then I will be in control, and I will know what I need to do, and I get to decide my reality. But that's not usually how it works. In reality, we have to surrender to the present moment. We have to surrender to awareness. We have to relax. And in that relaxation and in that surrendering, we can find our creativity, and we also find our joy, and we also can find our life path. And it allows us to more clearly see the things that bring us down. It allows us to clearly say, wait a minute, this habit that I continue in every day, I don't actually need to do this. This is a result of my fear and my anxiety and my thinking mind and the sort of world that I have built in my head that I supposedly live in, and this is now a habit within that world. All of it all of it is a circle through your thinking mind. It is a circle through the habits you have built based on your perspective of reality that your thinking mind attaches to, and then says, okay, I have all the answers now, and now I can make decisions going forward. And it ends up keeping you in the same place. It ends up keeping you in fear, keeping you in anxiety, and keeping you searching for releases of that anxiety, releases to that fear, right? These are your bad habits. These are the things that bring you down, because you can't relax, because you do not want to surrender to the present moment, because you do not want ultimately to surrender to God. And writing a story is such a deeper thing that you're doing than just, I need to sell to some people that are gonna, not care at all about what I've written, and it's not the point, right? The point is that when you are a new writer and you are writing a long form story for the first time, whether that's a novel, whether that's a screenplay, something that is actually going to take you months to write, right? Not just a week, but something that is actually going to take you some real time and effort to write. What you are doing over and over and over again, every time you show up to work on that story, you are beating your thinking mind just a little bit. Because when you want to write, this is something that I've been feeling a lot recently, is that when you want to write, immediately there's tension there. It's the tension of your thinking mind. It's the tension of your criticizer. It's the tension of the part of you that will not allow you to simply be creative. And I have a lot of that analyzer and that editor inside of me, but I believe that is because I have a very high taste. I have a sense of what is good and what is not good. I have a sense of what is pleasing, what is powerful, what is emotionally moving, and a sense of what is not those things. And if you have that high sense of artistic taste, naturally your internal editor is going to be able to see problems in initial work that you do, and that is natural. But you have to allow yourself the freedom to be creative like a child so that you can then go and edit later. But if you're constantly keeping that editor in the same room that you're trying to be creative in, you will feel self-conscious in the sense that you will feel anxious, you will feel less than, you will not allow yourself the freedom to just be, right? Just to relax and just be alive. And you don't have to write something for, Hollywood. You don't have to write something to sell. You are first and foremost practicing the skill of quieting your criticizer and quieting this constant stream of consciousness that really is in your mind because of all the TV you watch, all the YouTube you consume, the music you're listening to, the constant podcasts, and it fills your mind with all these word salad, just words, and you're not here. But writing is a fantastic way to actually be here, because you have to quiet your mind and allow ideas to come to you rather than forcing them. Yesterday I did a live stream writing my screenplay, and it had been 4 days since I've worked on the screenplay. And it's interesting, the timing of that. It's an interesting moment of synchronicity because I was really stuck on this point. And I'm at a big turning point in the story, and I wasn't sure where to go. And all weekend I haven't been sure where to go, and it has given me a lot of tension about writing. And then I sat down to write yesterday, and I threw down some ideas, and I wrote maybe a page and a half, plus some ideas that I threw down, and then my internet cut out. Total blackout of my internet. I couldn't connect to my Wi-Fi. It was also strange, my hotspot on my phone wouldn't connect. There was no way I could reconnect to stream. And immediately I felt this anger. I have a tendency to when things don't go my way, I get a tendency to be angry about it. Sort of like in a snap. My temper can be hot. But I felt this and I was like, no, I'm not going to get furious. I'm just going to calm down. And I tried to fix my internet and it wasn't working. And I tried to connect to my phone, it wasn't working. I tried to go live on my phone and let people know that I wasn't going to continue the stream, and that wasn't working. And I couldn't even get back online to turn the stream off, so it was just looping to infinity, and it was very frustrating. And I just kind of felt like in this place of tension because I hadn't written for 4 days, and now here I am trying to sit down and finally write, and I'm getting all these technical problems, and why am I even trying to write in a live stream in the first place? And it's just a mess. And I turned it all off and I went for a walk. And on that walk, brilliant ideas came to me for what needs to happen next in that story. And so I had planned to stream at a certain time and write for a certain amount and get this much done on the story. And I had planned in my thinking mind all of this stuff. And I set up the expectation through my thinking mind that this was going to happen, and this was going to happen, and then this was going to happen. And then that did not happen. But what did happen? What did happen was I was forced out of me trying to force the story forward, and I was led to a walk. And on that walk, I was able to be at peace. I was able to be calm. I didn't have headphones. I wasn't listening to anything. And I was able to actually push that story forward and find ideas that made me excited once again. And now today, I am excited to write once again. And so, same with even trying to schedule your writing, like the amount of time that you write. Yesterday I was on a meeting with a writer, and he was telling me that he was writing consistently. He was writing for 30 minutes a day, and he had been consistent for about 3 weeks. And I thought that was great. And he was asking me about, what should I do? Should I write for longer? Should I extend that out to 2 hours of writing? What should I do? And what I was telling him was, I love that you have a consistent amount of time that you're writing and a consistent time of day that you're writing. And I would recommend not to force yourself to write for a certain block of arbitrary time, to say every day I've got to write for 2 hours. Because if you do that, then you are just building stress up before you go and write every single time. Because you're saying, oh, I have to write 2 hours. And so for the whole day until you write, you're thinking, oh, I have 2 whole hours to write. Oh my gosh, I have 2 hours, I have 2 hours. And what is that? That is your thinking mind bringing anxiety to you, right? But if you just say, hey, I'm going to write at this time, and I'm going to write, and I'm going to not think about the clocks. I'm going to put all these clocks away. Because part of these problems with timers or stopwatches or keeping the clock right beside you all the time when you're writing is that you're thinking about the clock, you're not thinking about your writing. So if you say you're going to write for an hour and you write for 20 minutes, then you look at the timer and you go, oh, okay, I've got another 40-minute story. Well, what should I do in this? Like, you are thinking about time. The point is to stop thinking about time, because time exists in your thinking mind. All that really is here is the present moment. And that can sound very mystical and, spiritual and whatever. But it is such a fundamental truth that if you don't ponder that, if you don't actually give any energy towards understanding that the present moment is all there is, and these ideas that, oh, I'm going to do this for 2 hours, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, or blah, blah, blah. All these things are coming from you trying to control everything, trying to make sure that everything fits into your little boxes of what's supposed to happen. But instead of doing that, when you relax and you open yourself up to the world and you open yourself up to peace and creativity, joy, love, all these things, then good things can just happen. Creative ideas can come to you. You can enjoy writing. And so I want to wrap this up by talking about first drafts, because there is something very, very profound when you are writing your first long form story. When you're writing that first draft of a long form story for the first time, that is a profound moment and experience in your writing process. Because that is one of the, if not the biggest point where you have to quiet your thinking mind. Because you don't know really what it feels like to write something that's long form. You don't know what to expect. You don't know how much you're going to get frustrated and annoyed at your ideas and your, lack of good writing, or whatever you want to call it, which really is mostly just living in your head, and your writing is rarely as worse. It's rarely as bad as you think it is. From all these writers who send me scripts and they go, oh, it's so bad. It's like, it's not perfect. There's definitely fixes. We need to make changes. But is it absolutely unreadable? No. But if you have not written a first draft of something long form, like 100 pages of something, 100 pages of a screenplay, 100 pages of a novel, something long form, if you have not written that first long form story, I still consider you a complete beginner. I don't care if you have a PhD in screenwriting or storytelling. I don't care if you've read all the books. I don't care if you've attended 20 seminars. If you have not written a first full and complete draft of something long form, you are still a complete beginner. Because the real skill is not having a perfect methodology, although methodologies are helpful and they can be very useful, and when you integrate them by actually applying them, you can really get a lot of help in your writing. But the real skill here, the skill that you are practicing, no matter whose writing systems you follow, no matter if you listen to any of my stuff, it is a battle between your present, non-thinking, true awareness creativity versus your thinking mind, your criticizer, your judger, the one who wants to sit on your shoulder and tell you what you're doing wrong every 10 seconds. That is the battle that you're in. And that battle is natural. And if you engage in that battle first and learn to quiet that mind, then when you have other things happen in your life and you have real battles, right? Battles outside of just sitting in a room trying to write some pages down. When you have other kinds of battles, your mind will be more used to finding that presence, finding that creative calm, right? Finding that awareness and that connection to God, rather than struggling and trying to stressfully task list and manage and plan your way through your life. You must surrender. And in that surrender is your creativity. In that surrender is your peace. You know, everything is alive too. The trees are all alive, obviously. But more than that, right? Everything has a consciousness to it. You know, when you breathe, if you stop breathing for a few minutes, you lose consciousness, which is interesting, right? Where really is consciousness? Maybe, is the air conscious? Does the air hold it? I think the world is alive. The world is creative. The world is a good place. It is not an evil place. It is a creative place. It is a place that is aligned. It has unity. If you understand the stars, if you understand many secret truths that have been hidden, you will understand that the world is alive and you are just a piece of that aliveness. So, I will end it there. When you're writing that draft, first and foremost, allow yourself to be creative. Allow yourself not to sit in personal self-criticism and judgment. All this does is add to your stress, add to that black stress ball that sits in your mind. You are the one that feeds it and only exists because you allow it to. You cannot compare your first work to the 15th final product work of those you look up to. You cannot compare your first draft to someone else's 8th polished draft. You cannot compare your starting work to a finished, distributed film, right? You must allow yourself the freedom to be creative without judgment, without criticism. And when you can do that, you will set yourself free. By the way, for those of you that have stuck around all the way to this part of the video, I am going to be doing just some meetings, just some calls with writers. There'll be a link in the description. I'll probably have it hidden a little bit, so you have to find it. But if you want to speak to me, just, free of charge. You're not paying for anything. If you want to speak to me about your writing, you want to speak to me about something you're struggling with in a story, if you have a question about, kind of my services, like my writers group or one-on-one coaching, even if you want to ask me a question about philosophy or something like that, book a quick meeting with me. Let's talk. I'm interested in where you are, what your journey is. I feel like the world is in a very interesting point right now, where it feels like a lot of the old ways of doing things seem to they seem to be showing themselves as fake. They seem to be, you know, things like the college path, or the buying a house path, or, you know, the career path, or even the earning money and the way that money is actually made and distributed and all of these things. So many of these things feel like they are illusions that are falling. At least that's how it feels for me. And so I'm just interested in where you guys are at, what you're working on, what you're doing. I might pitch you a product or a service if I think you're right for the writers group, or if I think we should maybe work together one-on-one. But yeah, let's talk. I'd love to speak. Links below for that. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it has been helpful to you. I'll see you in the next one.